So hello everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So in this presentation, before start this presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Nishchay Kothari, and I'm working as a technical consultant in FOSSASIA Singapore, and I'm the part of FOSSASIA Enterprise Postgres Global Center of Excellence team. So in this presentation, I'm very excited to talk about pgroll, which allows us to apply all the schema changes in a safe, seamless, and reversible manner. So as a database administrators or a database developers, we are always, worried about that how we are going to apply all the schema changes online without affecting anything. But again, there is always, because schema changes is always a risky activity, and especially when we are trying to do online, right? And that's the reason that we are acquiring appropriate downtime. And to avoid any consequences, and that's the reason that we are acquiring downtime and start to apply all the schema changes. But again, the biggest fear for the developer also is that how we are going to roll back those changes which is already applied, but due to any reason, something is failed and we want to revert all the applied changes. So in this presentation, we will see how pgroll will help us to apply all the schema changes online and very easily, and how we can revert back safely as well. So this is the agenda of the session. So I will start with the few basic challenges of online schema change. And then I will quickly introduce a pgroll, as well as I will also walk you through a very brief how it works in a background. And then after, I will share the steps to installation and some of the uses as well. If you have any question, please ask all the questions at the end of the session. So at least I will be able to finish my presentation within a timeline. And also, I have a surprise for you as well. So after the end of the session, I'm going to ask a very simple question. If anyone is able to answer, then I'm going to give a free drone to them as well. Okay, so online schema change, right? So I'm sure many of you are completely agree with me that online schema change can be a double-edged sword, because changing structure online is always risky. It can lead to a lot of issues as well, right? And especially when anything already applied and something is failed. So it is just like, if I'm going to see a simple example, that if it's just like, renovating our own house, while every member of family is going to be, living the same house while renovation work is still going on. So there are the high chances that the things get messy very easily, right? So let's focus on the challenges. So first is the breaking changes. So when we are trying to modify or tweak any tables online, so there are the high chance that any users or applications are performing the transaction which are depend on those tables can, leads to the unexpected errors, or also leads to the service disruption as well. Multiple steps. So I'm sure, again, you all agree with me that we cannot introduce any schema changes on the fly. It requires a proper planning, proper development of those changes, as well as also needs to pass a proper testing cycles before proceeding for the production. So when I say, so this particular entire process is lengthy and time-consuming, also have a room of errors. So again, if I'm continuing with the same multiple steps, as I mentioned, there is proper development of those changes. It's also, for example, if we are accommodating a small change, like modifying the existing column, so that particular change also requires multiple steps in a background. So for example, adding a new column, right? So first of all, we have to create a new column. Then also need to modify our existing application to make sure that they are going to start utilizing the old and new column, both the columns, for adding the data. Then backfilling the data from old column to new column. Then step number 4, analysis and creation of the constraint on the newly created column. And the last, fifth step is going to be like, again, modify the application code to make sure that it stop utilizing the old column and only start using the new column. And the last step is going to remove the old column. So again, if anything goes wrong and any single step for simple change of modifying the existing column is going to be failed, then entire change is going to be failed. Next one is the unexpected data lock. So when we are trying to modify anything online and we start observing that the tables which we are modifying or database start acquiring the logs, which also leads to the any transaction which are depending on those tables going to be on hold until the logs is going to be clear. So that's again also leads to unexpected service slowness or application slowness. Next one is the no easy rollback. This is one of the biggest fear for every developers, that how we are going to roll back those changes if which is already applied and we need to roll back because of something goes wrong. Right, and that's the reason as we are acquiring appropriate downtime to avoid those kind of scenarios. But again, it is the biggest fear for them. And again, it's not. And again, we cannot be start immediately rolling back those changes. It also required a proper planning and careful analysis. Otherwise, it can lead to unexpected data loss or data inconsistency as well. So now the question is what is the answer to address all these challenges? So answer is pgroll. So pgroll is an open source command line tool which allows us to apply all the schema change in a reversible and safe manner for all the PostgreSQL database. pgroll also supports the PostgreSQL version 14 onwards and also allows us to run the multiple schema versions simultaneously. And why it is really beneficial? Because of its offers various features. So let's start with the first one is the zero downtime. So normal traditional approach, as I mentioned, that we are acquiring a downtime to avoid consequences like breaking the changes or any database locks. But here with the pgroll, we do not require to acquire a downtime because it allows us to apply all the schema change without worrying of any consequences. So we can apply all the things while all the application users and database users are able to perform the transaction without any service disruption. Next one is the old version and new version can work simultaneously. As I just mentioned in the introduction statement that we can run the multiple versions. pgroll allows us to run multiple versions of schema. So means where the old schema is going to, old version of schema represents your original schema, which do not have any modification of your changes. As well as the new version is representing your schema change, which already have your applied changes. So both can work simultaneously, and this particular approach is very beneficial when we are looking for the smooth application transition. Next one is the automatic backfilling data. So as I mentioned in my multiple steps statement that backfilling of the data from old column to new column. So generally in a traditional schema change approach, it's require a manual intervention, and it is very time consuming, especially when we are dealing with the large data set. But here with the pgroll, the entire activity or the entire task of backfilling data from old to new column is completely automatic and fully taken care by pgroll. Next one is the instant rollback. So instant rollbacks, again, the biggest fear, as I mentioned, that for the developers always have that in their back of the mind. But here, entire responsibility of rolling back those changes is taken care by pgroll. So pgroll will do on behalf of you a proper planning and proper analysis as well. So so all the developers have a relax from their mind, and then they can keep focus only on the development of those changes. Next one is the work against existing schema. So there is no special requirement to make the use of pgroll in your existing environment. It's very easy to use and easy to integrate, and immediately you can start utilize the pgroll in your existing schema. And pgroll can work on any PostgreSQL deployment. So whether you have deployed your PostgreSQL on premises or on a cloud, or even you are using the database managed service offered by any cloud provider, it works very smoothly. Even though pgroll also works very effectively for any subscription-based Postgres like FOSSASIA Enterprise Postgres. Next one, pgroll is very lightweight because it's written in a Golang language. So it's only one binary available, and there is no dependency of any others files or library. We can also install pgroll on operating system like Windows and Linux, and also possible to integrate with the CI/CD pipeline. Let's understand briefly how it works in the background. So as I mentioned that pgroll helps us to apply all the schema changes without causing any problem. Okay, so first is the virtual schema using views. So instead of pgroll, instead of starting modifying anything directly on a physical database structure, it will create a multiple virtual schemas by using the views. Okay, and this particular approach is going to ensure that your users will not face any service disruptions and they can able to perform all the transactions while we are applying all the desired schema changes in a background simultaneously. Second one is the control non-disruptive changes. So as I mentioned that PG rule makes sure that while modifying or while applying your schema changes, nothing is going to be break which is already running smoothly, or I would say which is already existing. And this particular approach is going to assure that your application can able to function normally while we are rolling out all the changes in a background simultaneously. Last one is a non-immediate impact on user. So like in a traditional schema change approach, where small or single schema change can lead to, the user disruption, a possibility of impact on users as well. But here, PG role will accommodate all your applied schema changes and mapped by using the views. So this particular will ensure that your application is do not required immediate upgradation to make, working with your schema change. So your and you have your application developer have enough flexibility, or I would say the ample amount of time to upgrade their application according to the conveniency. So this particular thing is safe to say that the PG role allows us to test drive all the database schema changes in a safe and virtual environment before making them live. PG role expand on contract workflow. So PG role is using the smart expand contract workflow to accommodate all the schema changes online. So let's start with the expand phase. So it is all about to adding the schema change safely, or I would say all about to adding changes, safe changes. So like when I say safe changes means like, adding a new table or into the existing database, or adding a new column inside the existing tables without breaking anything existing one. So if I continue with my house example, that we are planning to add a new room in our existing house without moving our furniture. Okay, so again, applications, once we are apply all the changes, application can able to start utilizing those new changes, as well as the old things are still intact and can able to perform all the work as usual without any disruption. Next one is the handling the breaking changes, or I would say risky changes. So it is all about adding the changes which might break the existing functionality. So for example, modifying the existing column. So PG role, here the PG role acts very smartly. So instead of modifying directly on your existing column, it will add a new column in a background and also create some few additional triggers, which is responsible to make the synchronization of your data from old column to new column as well. And this particular approach ensures your smooth transition for your application and also reduce the risk of errors. The last one is the, next one is the new version of your application. New version. So it is means like, once you are done with your all the schema changes, and after that PG role will create or provide a new version of your schema, a database schema structure. So depending on the business requirement or readiness of our application, we can able to start utilizing all the whole new database version at the same time, or we can use bit by bit. So again, so like once our new room is ready in our house, like so it depending on our financial budget or manpower, we can either move all the furniture at the same time to the new room, or moving one piece of furniture at a time. So depending on the situation and requirement. Last one is the contract phase, means the completing and finalizing the changes. So once we are assured that our entire application start utilizing without any issue, or start utilizing the new schema structure without any issue, then in that case we can, a PG role will start applying or completing the changes, and it will, drop all the temporary objects which was created during the period of your online schema change to make it successful, those changes. Maybe it's a temporary table, shadow tables, or any triggers. Those are created. It's going to be deleted, as well as also going to map those changes, metadata with your database objects. Again, while performing this cleanup task and remapping task, PG role is also ensures that your application and user will not face any service disruptions, and they can able to perform the transaction normally. So let's understand something more with some use proper explanation, so diagram. At the time, older version of your schema is still available. And when we start applying those changes, so you can see that as active migration period. So here I have used the word according to the pgroll documentation. So migration word representing the schema change. It is not the things which we are generally used for migrating from one RDBMS to Postgres, but it is representing the schema change. So when we start applying the changes, means like active migration period, during that period of a time, older version of schema is still available. Once we complete those schema change, at the same time, we can see that older version of your schema as well as new version of your schema is available for a temporary period of a time. Now, when we start going to modify the application, utilizing the older version of your schema, now our application team develop all the changes and our new application is ready to roll out. During the rollout phase, you can see that older version is still available and new version is also available. Once after successfully completion of your rollout phase, and once we finalize our all the database schema changes, at the time you can see that older version is no more available for use in a database as well as in for the application as well. So only new version will be going to be used after all this finalizing the changes. Again, some more example with the table example. So I can see that you can see like two period, active migration period and migration complete. So as I mentioned in my previous slide that pgroll will create multiple schema versions before modifying anything on a physical structure of your table. So we have a table called users, which have 3 columns, ID, age, and full name. So as I mentioned, it will start creating an older version of view. So we can see the older version of view based on your original schema structure. Now we are going to perform 3 schema change operation, rename the column full name to first name, adding a new column, which is a safe change, last name, and also applying the not null constraint on existing column, which is a risky change. Okay, so you can see that after successfully creation of the older version of view, then it is going to be start applying all the changes on a physical structure. So you can see that the 2 columns are there, pgroll, new age, because that is a risky change, so it's always, instead of modifying directly on an age column, it will create a new column in a background. And this is the safe chain because it's a new column. Also, based on that, it is also create a new version of your view based on the final desired structure of your physical table. Once we are satisfied with our all the changes, we are going to finalize those changes. After finalizing of the changes, the older version of view is going to be removed, and your physical schema structure is completely identical copy of your view. So now the question definitely comes in mind that, is it required any additional storage, or is it doing a duplication of the data as well? So answer is no. It's just focusing on the metadata and just handling the the DDL structure. So there is no additional duplication of your data and no additional storage is required. Again, another question is like how DML operation is going to handle during this period of a time. So pgroll is a very smart enough to accommodate your all the DML operations during this particular period by using the combination of your triggers, transaction tracking, shadow tables, and metadata mapping. So using all of the combination of this, it will ensure that your all the DML transactions are going to be addressed successfully. So now the part of installation process. So like any other software, pgroll also have basic requirements, which is like, it's written in a Go language. So Go language is a primary requirement. So it has to be version 1.23 or later version, and to install directly from the source code. So you can execute this particular command. So we will get a latest version of the pgroll installation successfully done. After successful installation, your pgroll binary is going to be stored inside the root go bin. And if you are okay to modify your environment variable, or also you're okay to provide the full path of your binary, then you can continue. But if you are lazy like me, you don't want to use a full path and all the stuff, so always the optional step you can follow. You can copy pgroll binary inside the USR bin. So it will be easy to, without any modification, you can easily to utilize that. Okay, So another requirement after the software is installed, another requirement as a last step for successful installation of pgroll, we have to initialize the pgroll to create the necessary metadata information, to store the necessary metadata information. So for that, table and functions are required. So if you have a SSL setup in already configured in your PostgreSQL, so you can able to utilize the first command. And if you do not have SSL in place in your PostgreSQL, so you can utilize the do SSL setup command. So you can see the almost similar is, or both the command almost similar. The last one also have SSL mode is equal disable option you need to add when you are dealing with the no SSL configuration. So in my test environment, I'm using the Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres 17, and test_pgroll is my database, and I don't have a SSL in place at the time, so I'm using the no SSL command. So after successful execution of the init command, we can see the initializations completed successfully, and a new schema, pgroll, is going to be created. And the new table also going to be created called the migrations inside the pgroll schema. So, so let's understand. So this is the last step for your final configuration, or I would say the installation of your pgroll. So now you can see, let's understand how we can use those things. So pgroll will accept all the input file, or I would say the change file, in a JSON format only. So we have to create a JSON format. And if you, in this presentation, I have kept all this example very simple, but if you would like to get more idea about that, how it works in a complicated scenarios and all the stuff, so I would request you to visit this particular link on a GitHub. Over there, you will see 40+ examples. Over there, you will get a complete opportunity to get your hands dirty with the pgroll. So here you can see on the screen that I have created a JSON file, which is responsible to create a new table called users with the 3 particular column: ID, username, and email. And ID is going to be on my primary key index, primary key constraint as well. So this is my change file. So once it is done, so our responsibility is to execute the schema change with the help of start command. So when we execute a start command, so start command will immediately initiate the schema change process in a background by creating the virtual schema, and also start applying all the schema change which is mentioned inside the input change file, and also without affecting the existing one. So you can see on a screen that I also give the virtual schema name public 01 create user table. So this is the virtual schemas created by pgroll, and all the modifications, or I would say the change, is going to be created inside that virtual schema. Simultaneously, when we are going to query the migration table, we can see the record for our first, adding the table migration activity, or I would say schema change activity. We can also able to see the status with the status command. You can see when we execute the status, we can see the status in progress. And once we execute the complete command, so I have to mention that when we execute a complete command, then there is no possibility of rolling back those applied changes. Because when we execute a complete command, it will finalize the changes by removing the older version of views, which is already removed, so there is no possibility to rolling back to the older version of view. Also removing all the temporary objects, as well as also remapping your metadata with the database objects. Next one is the adding the column inside the existing table. So I'm going to add 2 columns, salary and designation, and I'm going to use not null constraint for salary column, as well as default value is 5,000 for the salary column. So this is my change file to accommodate this change. Again, same command, I need to use a start, status, and you can see that when I'm going to describe that particular table, 2 columns are with the temporary name is already mentioned inside my user table. So, and after the successful complete command, you can see that all the temporary names is going to be renamed according to the desired output name, which is salary and designation. Now the last use of adding the index. So I'm going to create an index on a salary column. Index name is going to be IDX salary column. Same thing, same steps are there going to be performed. We have to call the start name and passing the input file. But now you can see here, my index is already added inside that. But after that, I not happy with this change. I thought let me revert back this change. So how we're going to do that? Because I never execute a complete command, so I have a still possibility and privilege to rolling back applied changes. So I need to execute a rollback command. So when I executing the rollback command, so immediately it will redirect my database to the older version of schema because it's still available, as well as it will start removing all the changes. I was discarding all the applied changes according to the input file, as well as remove the new version of your schema. So now you can see that after that, pgroll, the older index is still there, but newly salary column index is automatically removed. And after successfully execution of rollback, my migration status is also going to be complete. So I don't need to execute a complete command. Okay, so now the comparison with the other tools. So as I walk you through that, pgroll is offering a lot of features like allowing all the schema changes without downtime, as well as also have a backfilling data capability, instant rollback capabilities as well. So this particular features makes, the pgroll is one of the shining star if we're comparing with the other tools. And nowadays, most of the enterprise customers are always worried about the unnecessary, I would say always focus on reducing the, service disruption for this kind of schema change, because schema change is also very important, which helps us to cope up your application with the cope up with the high demand day-to-day requirements. So we cannot stop those things, but with the help of that, we can address those concerns raised by the enterprise customers, and with the help of that, they can reduce the amount of downtime. If I'm comparing with the other tools like Liquibase, Flyway, so they are very good tool for applying the schema changes, as well as also allows to tracking down those changes as well, and possible to integrate with the CI/CD pipeline. But by default, it is not available, possible to achieve the zero downtime. And also, we need a lot of manual efforts required to achieve the somewhat level zero downtime capability in Flyway and Liquibase. While the other hand, schema change is specially designed for the Snowflake database migration, and there is no possibility to achieve the zero downtime because there is no focus on that to achieve in near future as well. Last one, I'm sure everyone is fully aware about this tool. So there is no introduction is required to this tool as well. So this tool is specially designed for interacting, it's a database management tool, and it's especially designed to interact with all the database objects, like for the querying the data and all those stuff. So anyhow, we are still able to apply the schema changes, but again, it's required a downtime. So there is no possibility, and we cannot consider as this particular tool as like what pgroll is offering all the features. So that's clearly indicate that pgroll is one of the shining star for achieving the schema changes without downtime. Yeah, so that's from my end. I'm open for the question. I hope we have time.
Right, thank you for that. Pass it around for some questions. We got about 5 minutes or more, I think.
Thank you very much for introducing this tool. Looks really interesting. I have two questions. First of all, I quickly checked the documentation, and it says we need to provide basically the JSON files for each kind of migration. My question is basically usually for people who used to use Flyway and other tools, how good is this tool in determining the raw SQL? Or for raw SQL commands basically in the JSON, it would be the same as in Flyway, no guarantees on complete, and basically if it ran, it ran. And does it provide any kind of zero downtime guarantee for SQL as well?
Okay, so pgroll will utilize your metadata details and also create the multiple shadow tables in a background. I would say temporary tables to accommodate all the changes, to accommodate all the changes without any affecting the service disruption for which already ongoing at the time while you are applying the changes.
Okay, and the second question is I understand the reasoning behind all these commands like init, start, and complete, but does it have any kind of command just if I have 40 scripts and I want to initialize the fresh database, does it have any command for migrate 40 scripts from scratch and just create a DDL for me?
Okay, so you're talking about the migration in a mode of batching?
Yes.
No, as of now, there is no possibility at this moment, but maybe in the near future, you will get those batching. But yeah, as of now, you can see, you can able to accommodate all the schema change in a one JSON file. Then pgroll will execute those things, but it will not allow us to pass the multiple files at the same time.
So basically, I will need some sort of bash file on top of it, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Further questions from the audience? Schema migrations, all that complexity. Yes.
From your completed stage, after you do your pgroll complete, can you actually do a reverse of what was done?
Okay, so as I mentioned that after executing the complete command, you will not, there is no possibility to roll back with the help of pgroll. After that, you have to be a traditional proper planning and proper analysis for rolling back those changes.
So you've got to rewrite the JSON file in reverse and then apply it?
Up to like how you're going to like, so if you, it's a very minor change, you want like to, remove that, but so for example, you add a new column and you are not happy with that, you found some issues, you can also write another change to roll back. But it is already, there is data is already start, going into that particular column. Maybe you have a foreign key referential integrity for that. Then you have to do a proper analysis to avoid any data inconsistency or data loss.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Could you speak to the how mature the tool is, how battle tested it is, how many years it's been in service, who the active contributors are to this system? Is it Fujitsu itself, or Fujitsu just happens to use it a lot, or? Yeah.
No, this tool is developed by Zeta. There's another organization based in Europe. So I'm just sharing those as a open source community. So I'm just sharing the information about that. So there is no, as of now, no contribution contributed from Fujitsu and for this particular tool. So just using, and it is newly introduced. So I thought it's a good platform to share those information about that.
Just to that, how many years has it been around, or who's kind of maintaining the roadmap of where this tool is developing further?
Entire product management, rollback, decide everything done by the Zeta only. So, or maybe like already available on a GitHub, so people can start, sharing those feedback, or maybe they have any bugs, so they will start, replying, fixing those bugs as well. So it's purely open source project as of now.
Maybe for the audience here who hasn't yet worked with this tool, are there any features or functionalities that you think are either still critical to add, or things that you're aware on the roadmap?
There's definitely, this guy already arrives, right? We can apply the multiple batches as well. And also, like, I can say, like, as of now, only few commands are there, like complete and all the stuff. So I would say if verify supposed to be that, so at least we can see how it's going to behave as well before finalizing the changes as well. So like those are the things, definitely we can also add those functionality. But again, as I mentioned, that it is newly introduced. So I think slowly, gradually, they are also taking all the feedbacks and going to, develop the robust tool and addressing all the challenges.
Okay, that's a fair. Okay, any other questions? We do have a bit of time. Maybe
If no question, then I can ask one question and I can give the gift to the lucky one. Is it okay? I'm going to ask a very basic question. I'd already covered in the slide as well. So my question is like, what are the features offered by pgroll? Can anyone name all the features in a one shot? I think it's not a tough question, I think.
Anybody? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lucky one.
I guess zero-downtime migration, and then like multiple distribution support. I mean, there were like 8 of them. So yeah, I think I can name only these 2 at the moment.
Okay. Apart from, okay, so 2 we have, if anyone can able to remaining 6 or 4, I think it's not 8, but say remaining 1. If anyone can able to answer.
It's tricky because, recall what you present there. So anybody else want to give it a try? So you're testing if the audience was listening,
That's the
right?
last guy.
So,
He wants to answer.
Zero downtime migration, instant rollback. and that's all I can recall.
Oh, we have a tie. Okay, front row.
Non-interruptible, potentially can be rolled back schema migrations based on set of rules that are user-defined in JSON format. And you can also query status of your cluster. You can also roll back depending on it. You can monitor it. So I mean, you have quite a few keywords, and you've been also, oh yeah, actually I had a question on that. You did mention the use of a table you use to store the set of rows that have their changes applied. Didn't you get some inspiration from another extension called pgrepack to do that? Because it's been using statement level triggers to catch the changes and do so. So you've been using that at C level with the C level triggers to do so? I didn't look at your project, so it's not SQL based. It's not PL based. You've been using some internal C and shortcuts with in the internal APIs of Postgres to make sure that it's actually a little bit efficient, even if you have a batch of changes. Is that right?
That's completely true. But I was expecting the list of the features. You are talking about the internal, the working of.
But I also did mention a little bit of the features just a bit earlier. So, non-interruptible migration changes based on set of inputs given by the user and customize. I mean, it's possible to customize also what you can do. So, I mean, you have a lot of keywords.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. There's another guy who's interested to answer.
I would go. No,
Okay,
written in Go.
Sorry?
Written in Go.
Huh?
Automatic, backfilling of the tables. Third is, obviously online now, which is zero downtime.
Zero downtime, yeah.
Fourth is, what was that again? Yeah. So the online rollback that you have, automatic rollback in place, and works with any existing Postgres version starting from 14 onwards. Yeah, I would say that's the 5.
So it's a very close answer now. Hardly a couple of his mistakes.
Also, automatic column backfilling, was it there?
Yeah.
And no database locking.
Yeah, okay. Somewhat level, okay.
Yeah, that's what I think was missed.
So Nishchay, you'll have to make a
So
call
I think
now as to who got.
Hari was the guy who answered almost all. I was only except 2. So I think, okay, I'm going to. This is a lucky winner guy. So who always give an exact answer.
Okay. I think you'll have to maybe circle back to Michel about his question that he wove into his answering there earlier, but perhaps offline.